Welcome back to part 2 of this explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into what is essentially a hero's journey deep into your own psyche. In part 1, we mapped out the different parts of the mind. But today is all about the rescue mission. We are exploring how to actually connect with, heal, and completely nurture your inner child through reparenting and unburdening.
So take a second and really think about this. Have you ever felt an emotional ache or an intense reaction that just doesn't seem to match your adult persona? Like maybe a really minor setback at work leaves you completely overwhelmed with panic, or a tiny perceived rejection from a friend feels absolutely world-ending. Well, if you've ever experienced those kinds of disproportionate reactions, you are definitely not alone. These intense feelings are actually signals. They're basically distress flares sent up by a wounded inner child. In the Internal Family Systems Framework, or IFS, these highly vulnerable parts of our psyche are called exiles. And exiles carry the emotional burdens, the unresolved pain, and all those unmet needs from our younger selves. They are very often frozen right in the exact moment of a past trauma or a time of neglect. They hold all of that heavy luggage of past experiences, and honestly, they're just desperately waiting for someone to finally help them put that luggage down. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with meeting your exiled parts, introduce the 8 C's of self, and then learn about soothing your protector's fears. From there, we'll dive right into the art of reparenting, and finally, releasing the heavy burdens.
All right, let's start with section 1, meeting your exiled parts, and understanding the heavy luggage they carry.
So, how do we actually know when an exile is trying to get our attention? Because they're hidden away, right? Well, they wave red flags for help in a few very specific ways. First, through intense emotional triggers, like feeling a sudden, massive wave of panic over just a little piece of constructive criticism. Second, they show up as physical sensations. You know that sudden, tight knot in your stomach during an argument? That might literally be an exile holding on to fear. Third, they communicate through repetitive, limiting thoughts. Think of a persistent voice just repeating, "I'm never good enough." And finally, when an exile is activated, you feel frozen in the time of that original wound. You're reacting not as your capable adult self, but as a frightened kid. Moving right along to section 2, the 8 C's of self. Think of this as your hero's toolkit. To help these exiles, we need a strong, stable leader. And in IFS, that leader is your core self. The self isn't a part, it's your true essence, and it comes fully equipped with 8 specific superpowers: curiosity, compassion, calmness, courage, clarity, confidence, creativity, and connection. These 8 qualities are absolutely crucial. They give us a safe, grounded framework. Just imagine looking at your pain not with judgment, but with genuine curiosity and compassion. It's exactly that shift in perspective that allows us to approach our most wounded parts without getting completely overwhelmed ourselves. There is just a massive difference between these 2 ways of experiencing life. When you're operating from an exiled state, you feel overwhelmed, highly reactive, and fundamentally unlovable. It's literally like you're lugging around a 50-pound emotional backpack everywhere you go. But when you shift to a self-led state, using those 8 C's, you're centered, compassionate, and emotionally regulated. You're securely connected to your own inner wisdom. And honestly, shifting your internal system from that chaotic exiled state over to this calm self-led state is the entire goal of this healing work. Now for section 3, soothing your protector's fears. This is all about negotiating with the guardians. See, before we can rescue the inner child, we have to get past our protective parts, the managers and firefighters. They act kind of like overzealous bouncers trying to keep the exiles hidden so you don't get overwhelmed. So we have to build trust. If a protector says the exile's pain is too much to handle, your self-led response is simply, "Hey, we'll go slow and adjust the volume." If they worry the pain is their whole identity, remind them, parts are not their burdens. We can release them. If they're terrified the exile will be judged, reassure them. This is entirely safe, it's just between us. And if a protector is scared they'll lose their job if you heal, promise them they'll find a brand new, valuable role on the team. We really have to map out these reassurances to earn their trust so we can safely reach the inner child. Which brings us to section 4, the art of reparenting, the actual rescue. Okay, now we move into the active rescue phase. This is a loving step-by-step process. Step 1 is to create a safe space. Like we just talked about, this involves reassuring those protective parts that it's okay for them to step back for a minute. Step 2 is to listen. Offer a totally non-judgmental ear to the exile's story. Let them tell you exactly how they got hurt and ask them, "What do you need from me right now?" Step 3 is to nurture.
Provide the verbal comfort and the emotional support they so desperately missed back then. The whole point here is that your adult self steps in to give the exact care, validation, and warmth your younger self lacked. You literally become the parent they always needed.
To make this super actionable, try this really powerful visualization. You can draw it or just picture it in your mind's eye. Visualize yourself as a capable, calm adult, gently sitting right next to your younger, activated part. Young parts need to be physically reminded that they aren't alone in their pain anymore. By visualizing yourself sitting beside them, maybe holding their hand or wrapping a warm blanket around their shoulders, you are offering immediate compassion. You're proving to them that there's an adult here now who's got this.
Section 5. Releasing the heavy burdens, the unburdening.
We've reached the crescendo of our journey. Once the inner child feels completely safe, heard, and nurtured, they're finally ready to let go of that heavy backpack of trauma, fear, and shame. The sources offer this really beautiful insight. Watch the part gently set the burden down and see it dissolve into something harmless, like light or air. You can picture them dropping a heavy stone into a rushing river or releasing a dark cloud up into the sky. It sets this incredibly uplifting, liberating tone. It turns the release of lifelong emotional baggage into a tangible, beautiful experience. And once that burden is finally released, this beautiful aftermath unfolds. Reintegration restores your inner child's natural joy, playfulness, and creativity. It brings true harmony back to your internal system. Freed from the weight of shame and fear, your parts don't just disappear. Instead, they reclaim their original gifts. A part that used to hold deep unworthiness might suddenly become your source of spontaneous creativity and vibrant energy. It is a total transformation of your inner world.
That brings our explainer to a close, but your journey of self-compassion, that's really just beginning. So I want to leave you with this. What does your inner child need to hear from you today? Is it you are safe? Or maybe you are enough exactly as you are? Take that thought with you. Use your 8 C's of self and start reparenting your own exiles today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope this helps you find a little more peace inside.